All righty. How is everybody doing? PTS Dog here, also known as Joaquin Watai, author of the book PTS Dog, Post Traumatic Stress Disorder and Service Dog, and handler of Skeeter, the Alaskan Malamute. I want to chat with you about public access challenges today. Today was a challenging day. It started out going into a public school to drop off some paperwork and ended up at every handler's most favoriteest place in the world, Hellmart. Um, and honestly, I did not have any access challenges in that nobody questioned my presence there with Skeeter. So that was very good. I'm grateful that we didn't have any excessive challenges. Those can happen. We can have very aggressive gatekeepers, for lack of a better term, who like to try and flex their muscle and push handlers around. I did not experience any of that today. So, I'm grateful for that. I did get a little salty with an associate at Walmart, and we'll get to that. But I really want to talk about how I failed today and discuss mindset with you guys when we are out dealing with the general public, and want to discuss. I want to discuss how we handle things and how that reflects on ourselves and on the service dog community. And I am not by any means trying to call anybody out except myself. I had a rough day today, and I want to talk about it because I want you to know that you're not alone when you're having a rough day handling your service dog. Um, so let's talk a little bit about it. First of all, at the high school, school starts Monday. They were giving students tours today. Um, and so there were kids everywhere. And, teenagers, beautiful dog. Oh my God. And it just, and so that kind of started my morning off. I did pretty good about turning it off and just ignoring it. I do my best to put blinders on, put earplugs in, not literally, but figuratively put in earplugs and ignore the excessive gushing, freak out nonsense that we get when people see a service dog, any service dog. Yes, my service dog is pretty unique, especially in North Carolina. There are not a lot of Alaskan Malamutes in the entire state. And to my knowledge, only one that is a trained service dog. So that in and of itself makes him unusual, makes it exciting to see him. Okay, great. Um, the problem is, for me, after the 373,000th time somebody stops me to tell me how beautiful my dog is, I've kind of lost patience. I get a little fed up. It's gone from when I was able to shop on my own. Um, I could go, know exactly what I wanted, go straight into the store, get the items, put them in my cart, come check out, and leave. And it would take me less than 30 minutes. It is literally impossible now to make a trip that would have taken me less than 30 minutes in less than an hour. And it usually takes almost 2 hours. Why? Because every single person who sees me and my dog feel entitled to stop me to tell me about how beautiful my dog is, or to ask me, how old is he, or what's his name, or blah, 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 blah. And this is something I wish that the general public could learn. That service dog is not there to entertain you. He's not there for you to gaze at in awe and wonder. He's not there for you to coo at and to ooh and ah at. That service dog is there specifically to assist me with my disability, and he has been trained to do so. And when you proceed to selfishly interpose yourself into my day as I'm simply trying to get something done, you are making my day more difficult. You do not know, nor do you have the right to know, why that service dog's there, beyond the fact that the handler must be disabled by law. By law, businesses can't ask what my disability is, only what tasks the dog performs to assist me. That law is not applied to the general public, but let's talk about just being intrusive and rude. It's just intrusive. You know what? Oh, why do you have a service dog? Well, what color are your underwear? That's a little personal. Well, so's my disability. It really is. It's none of your business. I'm wearing a shirt that says PTS dog. PTSD right down the side. PTSD dog. PTS dog. 1 + 1 = 2. I have a PTS dog patch on his vest. Anybody with half a brain could put it together and go, oh, that's a PTSD service dog. Maybe I'm being a little intrusive. Maybe I shouldn't bother this guy because he's got the PTSD. We all know how scary those veterans with the PTSD are. I don't know. Look, education is the only way we're going to fix this. Maybe what we need to do is find people willing to put together and fund a public service campaign that goes on the radio, goes on the television, and talks about how to act when you see a service dog. Because you know how not to act when you see a service dog? Exactly the way people behave every single time any handler goes out. Oh my God, a dog. Oh my God, a dog. Hey, look at that dog. Come look at the dog. Hey, let's go stare at the disabled person with his medical equipment. You're not hauling your kids all the way across the store to look at a wheelchair. At least I hope you're not. If you are, you may want to stop living in a cave. Dogs are common, people. We see them every day. Most people in America have one in their home. A trained service dog that is behaving appropriately is not as common. True. But understand that that dog is there to assist a disabled person with their disabilities, not to entertain you, not to keep your kids from throwing fits, not to make you feel better by asking to pet it, not for you to give your personal history about all the dogs you've ever owned to the handler. That's not why the dog is there. And it's incredibly intrusive when you decide to go out of your way to approach the handler who is simply trying to get their groceries or do their shopping. And you know what? Most of the time, I just have the mindset of nod and smile and keep moving. Focus on what my mission is. You know what? I get that 1,000-yard stare. I focus on mission. I focus on working my dog and that interaction I have with my dog. I'm able to tolerate the nonsense, except for the people who go out of their way to come over, excuse me, and you just can't, you know what? At some point when I'm fed up enough, I just get rude. I do, because I've had enough. But see, that person that's coming over there to interpose themselves on my day because my dog's so amazing doesn't understand that they're the 40th person to do so, or 70th person to do so, or 90th person to do so. Okay? So, yeah, can get pretty salty about it. Absolutely. But I try to remember that person doesn't know how many times I've been stopped. That person doesn't know that it's taken me 2 hours to do 30 minutes worth of shopping because everybody and their brother and their brother's uncle's cousin wants to talk to me. Okay. So understanding that ignorance is the rule, not the exception, when it comes to knowledge about service dogs, we have to understand that. We have to understand. Look, I saw a kid today, maybe 16, with three-quarter leg prosthetic. A very kick-ass prosthetic. I mean, this thing was cool. I didn't go out of my way to go stop him and tell him, oh, man, that prosthetic's amazing. I just thought, wow, what a cool prosthetic. Okay, that's how you should handle seeing a service dog. Wow, cool service dog. And then you go about your business. You don't go over to the person and go, man, that's a cool leg. Whoa, look at that leg. Hey, Pete, come over here and look at this guy's leg. But it's okay to do with a service dog? And handlers, I know I'm preaching to the choir. I know that all of you who handle dogs understand this because they do. It doesn't matter what breed your dog is. I handle a majestic, beautiful, fit Alaskan Malamute that is extremely unusual to see in the part of the country I'm in. He's extremely unusual to see in public in the part of the country I came from. Okay, it's unusual to see a Malamute walk into a grocery store anywhere you are, except maybe in Alaska. But that's different. Alaska's its own planet sometimes. At least it was when I was growing up there. Okay, but it's unusual. It's unusual to see an Alaskan Malamute walk in, behaved, not pulling, focused, performing his tasks, ignoring the meat in the deli, trained service dog. It's unusual, unfortunately, when you do see a dog, to see a trained service dog. Why? Because entitled people decide that, well, since the disabled guy can do it, I can just bring Fifi the Wonder Poodle everywhere I go. And Fifi has no training, and Fifi barks and piddles in the aisles and stuffs her nose into the deli counter, But you know what? The ADA doesn't protect that jerk and Fifi the Wonder Poodle. The ADA protects me, the disabled handler, who has taken the time to train my dog appropriately to both assist me with my disability and to tolerate the challenges of public access. And as long as I maintain my dog's training, I know that the law is on my side. No matter what Fifi the Wonder Poodle does, that's not my service dog right here. That's that guy's problem. And I'm not worried about that guy's problem as long as that problem stays away from me. It's none of my business. It becomes my business when I try to go to a restaurant or I try to go to the store and somebody from the establishment stops me and says, you can't bring that dog in here. We all know what happened the last time a service dog came in here. No, you know what happened the last time some entitled idiot brought their freaking pet in there. You've not seen an actual trained service dog who knows how to behave because I took the time to train and train and train. Debbie, I will get to your question in a moment. And Karen, I will get to your comment in a moment. Here's the bottom line with public access, folks. It all boils down to personal integrity. The ADA protects your right to use a service dog to assist you with your disability. However, in that protection, the ADA expects you to fulfill the requirements of one, being disabled, two, training your dog to assist with your disability, tasks that directly assist your disability, and three, training your dog to behave when it goes with you. If you don't do it, you're not protected by the law. And guess what? The ADA does not protect your dog. It protects you, the disabled person who handles a dog. Okay. Another thing you need to remember is the ADA does not grant you any rights. The ADA protects your rights. Much like the Bill of Rights and the Constitution protect what the framers considered to be natural rights. Okay, same concept is behind the ADA. It is our right as American citizens who happen to have a disability to use a service dog that is trained to assist with our disability to assist us. The ADA simply protects us by law to exercise our right. But remember, there's some key words in that law. The biggest key word, the biggest, most important key word being trained. 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 Until your dog is trained to be able to do so, you are not protected to take it under federal law. Some states make exceptions for service dogs in training, and they offer the same protection, and that is fantastic. We're talking about the Americans with Disabilities Act, which is federal law. Until that dog can fulfill the requirements of federal law, trained to assist you with your disability by performing work or tasks specifically, not, oh, he just automatically comes over and makes me feel better when I'm feeling nervous or anxious. Okay, that's an emotional support animal, and you are not protected to take that animal into public. Trained to perform specific tasks to assist you with your disability. With PTSD, that's kind of nebulous because everybody exhibits PTSD differently. Everybody's symptomology is different. Okay, but we have some similar things in common. Watching your six, providing a buffer, physical buffer around you so that people can't approach too close, without your dog letting you know, alerting you to their presence. Things you cannot do yourself, okay, because of your disability, but that the dog can do for you. This is why I draw the parallel of that young man with the prosthetic, okay? His leg stopped reaching the floor. So the medical response was to build a prosthetic to reach to the floor so he could walk. In the same way, with PTSD, our brains have a short circuit between perception and fight or flight, and there's no filter in between. We train our dogs to provide the filter. It is a mental prosthetic. That's the best illustration I can come up with. The dog fills in the gaps that PTSD created when it short-circuited our brain. Okay? We learn to use that dog and trust that dog. How do we learn to use that dog and trust that dog? Here comes that magic word again. Training. Training, 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 training. Training. So let's talk about some other public access issues, and then I'll tell you my Hellmart story. Karen was kicked out of a restaurant for no vest. Facepalm. Education is the biggest problem we have. Businesses think they know what they think they know, and they don't know what they don't know. This is a shortcoming in the ADA, and I've come up with multiple different ways to try and address the problem. One of them being simply add a little bit more paperwork into the regular code inspections that most businesses have to undergo. Do you understand the ADA and the rights of service dog handlers? Here they are. Here is the rules from the government website. Here they are. Make sure you read them. Please train your employees. Shoot. I'd be happy to go to businesses and train the employees. Free. I won't charge a damn thing. You know why? Because I want to make sure that they are protecting the rights of all disabled handlers who come in there. Obviously, the people at this business were uninformed or misinformed. Okay? How do you handle that? First of all, if you're not capable of educating, or if they're not willing to listen to the education, go to a different restaurant. There's millions of them. Second, get names, find out who the manager is, find out who the owner is. If it's a chain, walk right outside and call corporate. Hey, your location in Johnsonville, Texas, doesn't understand the Americans with Disabilities Act and is denying me access illegally because they think my service dog is supposed to be wearing a vest. Here's the manager's name. Here's their number. Would you mind calling them and educating them so that they don't treat another disabled person this way? Call corporate. If they're a chain, call corporate. I'm going to tell you right now, corporate will fall all over themselves apologizing, because if it ever makes it to a Department of Justice complaint and that complaint is found justified, charges start at $15,000 and go up. Okay? They don't want to pay the lawyers. They don't want the lawsuits. Corporate will slap them and slap them hard. If there is no corporation, if it's a mom and pop, again, get names and numbers. If you're in a large city, check the city, see if they have some kind of an equal opportunity council. Talk to the Better Business Bureau, see if there's anybody who can address it. But almost all states, not all of them, but most states have their own equivalent of the ADA or some kind of an enforcement branch, equal opportunity or other enforcement branch that deals with disability access issues. Address it at the state level, because the DOJ does look at these cases. However, the DOJ is looking at all kinds of access issues. Remember, the ADA is not just about service dogs. It is about equal access for all disabled people: wheelchair, oxygen tank, hearing aids, prosthetics, canes, walkers, all disabled people. And they get complaints. They get a lot of complaints. So if you go straight to the Department of Justice with a complaint about an access issue, most of the time it's going to get picked. They're going to send you a very nice form letter that says, we're slammed, try to deal with it at your state level. I don't even bother going federal. I go call corporate if it's a chain, and I go to the state, and that's where I get the resolution. So I'm just, and find another restaurant. Okay. Obviously these people are uneducated. We get that. Okay. And if they're unwilling to be educated, turn around and walk out. You don't need the grief. Okay. Address it at a later time when you're calm, when you're able, with the appropriate authorities. There is a note about what to do when you're denied access. There's a couple of them in the notes section on the PTS Dog page. After we're done with the live stream, I will drop links into the comments that tell you who to go to, where to go to, who to call. Next, how do you deal with the BS when someone says they're afraid of my dog and get out? Well, the law is very clear. In fact, the ADA fact sheet states specifically, not the Q&A, it is the ADA fact sheet, states that fear of animals and allergies are not an appropriate reason to deny access. So you tell them they're breaking the law. You explain to them that the Americans with Disabilities Act does not count fear of dogs as a valid reason to deny you equal access. If they continue to refuse access, again, find another place. There's always another place, even if you have to go to the next town over. Find another place. Do your business somewhere where people are educated, and contact the appropriate authorities to handle it. Don't get mad. Don't start screaming. Don't look. I get it. I've got the PTSD. I have lost my mind. I've lost my shit completely. Hotel told me I couldn't stay there because my service dog weighed over 20 pounds. I went to a different hotel that ended up being cheaper. So it saved me money. Thank you, assholes. And I called corporate the next day when I was calm. and they lost their franchise because this wasn't the first time. Hit them where the pocketbook, hit them in the pocketbook. The guy who owned that franchise lost his franchise rights, had to take all the signage down and everything, ended up having to sell the hotel. Why? Because he was unwilling to fulfill the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act on his part, which is to offer equal access. It ended up hurting him big time. And I didn't have to call a lawyer. The franchise did it for me. They also sent me a nice voucher for a free night at stay in one of their hotels. I can do that. That's fine. You know? No, Shauna, you cannot use your puppy as a service dog. It is a puppy. You need to train your dog. The ADA protects the use of service dogs. If you're asking, can I train my puppy to become a service dog? Yes, absolutely. Can I take it into the store right now while it's a puppy? Well, let's talk a little bit about that. First of all, how far along is your puppy in its shots? Do you know that you're endangering your puppy every time you take it into a public place if it doesn't have all of its shots? Is it worth it to you for that puppy to catch Bordetella or Parvo because somebody tracked it in on, and Parvo gets tracked on the ground, and the dog doesn't have all its shots? And is it worth it to you to endanger your puppy that way? And in most places, no matter whether you're going to train it as a service dog or not, until it has its rabies shot, which is required, as far as I know, in every city in every state in the United States, till it has its rabies shots, you can't take it anywhere. The ADA talks about the fact that you are required to have the vaccinations for your area and your region. Your service dog is required to be fully vaccinated. So until the dog's fully vaccinated, absolutely not. One, you're endangering your dog, and two, you're not fulfilling some of the requirements of the ADA. Okay. Three, okay, yes, okay, so yes, I'm sorry, Shauna, to kind of go on a rant, but look, back to Hellmart. Skeeter and I are doing our thing. We're shopping, and some dude who didn't look much more than 20 walks in with a puppy. And I'm just going, you've got to be kidding. And Walmart's hands are tied by company corporate policy. They can only ask, is it a service dog? They can't ask what task is trained to perform. And until it starts misbehaving, nobody can do anything about it. And then only members of management can ask that the dog be removed. Their hands are tied by corporate policy. How do I know this? I happen to live with Nevermore, who is an asset protection associate at Walmart. And she's the ADA police at her store. Because, one of the things she's responsible to protect are the people who shop at the store. And a dog that's out of control and yapping and barking and growling and snapping at people and is endangering them. So she grabs a management member and goes and asks him to remove their unruly and out of control dog. So, yeah. But yeah, no, look, people, couple of things about puppies. First of all, it is a puppy. The ADA protects service dogs, and it implies that the dog must be of a certain age. It must be of a certain maturity because it requires training. Okay. Second, and Skeeter's perfect example. I didn't start doing any public access training with Skeeter until he was 18 months old, until he was mature enough to handle it, until those wild hairs that puppies get. Until he outgrew them. That's called being a responsible handler. Once he was calmed down enough and over the puppy craziness that I felt comfortable taking him and training him for public access, we did that. And within 6 months, we were a working team. But it took a full 2 years of just teaching him to be a dog, first of all, teaching him not to be reactive, second of all. Thank God Skeeter is a very confident animal. Okay. And third, then training him both tasks and public access. Yes, you can train your puppy to become a service dog, but please don't drag your puppy out and start overwhelming it with public access. This is a process that takes time. And you don't just look, if you can drag your puppy into Walmart and say, sink or swim, kid, you're setting yourself up for disaster. Yes, you absolutely can train your puppy. You have the right, protected by the Americans with Disabilities Act, to train your service dog yourself. If you don't know how, or if you need help, reach out for the help. If you are a veteran, TADSAW, Train a Dog, Save a Warrior, is a great program. Once your dog is a year old, they will gladly evaluate your dog. And if your dog has the right temperament to become a service dog, enter you into the program, and they will train you and your dog together, which is ideal. I call it cooperative training because they need you to, your dog needs you to understand what he's telling you, and you need to understand what your dog is telling you, and your dog needs to understand what you are telling him or her. Okay. Train. Yes, you can train your puppy to be a service dog. However, I will caution you, don't push your puppy. Shauna, what's the cost to train a service dog? Well, that depends. Like I said, there are plenty of nonprofits out there that do it for veterans free of charge. You can go the trainer route. You can hire a trainer to help you train. That just depends on the trainer's rates. It depends on where you live in the country, what the trainer's rates are. I did take Skeeter to a Canine Good Citizenship class at Petco or PetSmart or one of the Petco, I think. Cost me $125 for 6 weeks of classes. And at the end of it, I had a really good trainer at Petco. He was a behaviorist, and he looked at me and he said, "You know what you're doing. You know exactly what you're doing. You just needed a little push in the right direction." And he was right. And I did. It was just, I was very unsure and needed some help with confidence at the time because I wasn't, I was insecure about whether or not I was doing the right thing. And he just looked at me and said, "This dog's got it. You just need to start listening." And he set me on the right path. What's it cost? It just depends. There are programs out there that do it free of charge for veterans. TADSAW is one of them. There are programs, cooperative training programs that will evaluate your dog. There are cooperative training programs who won't evaluate your dog and will tell you they're going to give you a dog. And then there are what I call third-party training programs who will not take anybody else's dog, only the dogs they provide. And you get into a lot of different stuff with them. If you already have a dog, absolutely you can train your dog. If you can train your dog yourself, train your dog yourself. What's it cost? What's dog food cost? What do veterinary stays cost? Okay, that's what it costs. Veterinary stays, veterinary appointments, shots and stuff. That's what it costs. I hate the fact that there is just about, as far as I know, I have not found a single nonprofit that helps anybody but blind people and veterans. And that's unfortunate that there are not nonprofits out there to help civilians train service dogs. Something that needs to change. But the largest need is perceived by the nation has been with the veterans. So a bunch of nonprofits popped up with veterans to help veterans. So, And I don't know, Sean, if your husband's a veteran or not. If he is, there are resources out there. Absolutely contact tadsaw.org. They will help you. If it is a puppy, they will want you to wait until it's at least a year old and it is fixed, which I agree with. I don't think that younger dogs need any more pressure than learning how to behave around the house and walk on a leash and not potty inside. It's my personal experience over a lifetime of owning dogs. You don't start training them to do the special stuff until they've mastered the basic stuff. Other people disagree with me, and that's fine. That's my opinion. Yes, Nick says there are organizations that help first responders who are civilians. Yes, you are correct. Maybe one per state, and they are rare. And again, that's sad. Guess what? TADSAW helps first responders too. Little piece of information to put out there. Not a lot of people realize that. They think it's just for veterans. TAD Safe, train a dog, save a first responder. So, okay. So, yeah. Remember that ugly, horrible word I threw out there? Responsibility as a handler. So Carrie says, I left the doctor's appointment voluntarily because my dog started acting up yesterday. Absolutely the right thing to do. Dog's getting squirrely. At that point, it may not be completely under control. The ADA requires that it be completely under control or that you are taking effective action to regain control immediately. If it's not working, guess what a responsible handler does? I'm sorry. My service dog's having trouble focusing. I need to remove him from this situation. Can we reschedule, please? Responsibility. Don't be that guy that creates that situation where the person goes, we all know what happened the last time a service dog came in here. Don't be that guy. We're not the people. Look, legitimate service dog handlers are not the people causing the problems. Entitled assholes are who are causing the problems. Everybody says, well, let's make a registry. That'll fix it. No, it won't, because the only people who will use the registry are the people who are doing it right anyway and aren't causing the problem. Why do you want to punish me for a problem I'm not creating? A registry won't solve a darn thing. Yeah, leave before you ask. Leave before you're asked to remove your dog. That's the responsible thing to do. You know what? When Skeeter's having a bad day, first of all, I usually know before we leave. But you know what? Sometimes he gets fed up and he's like, that's it. I'm done. Yesterday was a long day. And we had to go a bunch of different places. And by about the fourth place, Skeeter looked at me like, and I just looked at Nevermore and said, we're going to wait in the car. I can tell because I've been with this dog for 8.5 years. And I know when he's done, he's done. Just like when I'm done, I'm done. Understand your dog. How do you understand your dog? Train your dog. Spend time with your dog. Practice, practice, practice. There's no other way to do it except to work with your dog. The only way you figure out how your dog's working is to work with your dog. And I understand, yes, we are disabled, and there are situations and circumstances that make things difficult. But you know what? You can still play fetch in the house and work on place or so, simple stuff, easy stuff, little stuff. Because what it's all about, and this is something I learned when I went to training class with Skeeter so many years ago from this behaviorist, is getting the dog into the mindset and keeping that mindset of wanting to learn. Okay? If the dog is accepting that, is opening that mindset to learning, because you're training and practicing, basic things become muscle memory. I don't even have to worry about Skeeter healing. I dropped his leash 3 times in the stores today as we were shopping. Didn't even realize that he was dragging it on the floor because he was right where he was supposed to be, because it's muscle memory for him. There's no other place that he's supposed to be except right there, unless he's next to a grocery cart. That's also muscle memory. If he's next to a grocery cart, I just throw the leash in the basket. I don't even hold on to him. He knows right where he's supposed to be. Okay? Why? Training, practice, training. This is why, especially for PTSD service dogs, I don't like third-party programs, because you get minimal, the handler, get minimal training in how to handle your dog. So there you are with this newly, freshly minted, fully trained service dog, and you don't have a clue what the hell you're doing. You both have to relearn. And if you don't have any experience with handling and training a dog, it's a sharp upward curve. It's steep. Hopefully the dog is smart enough to understand that you're trying to play catch up. If you're not involved with training your dog, one, your dog's not going to understand what you need from it because it hasn't seen it. And two, you're not going to understand what your dog's saying. I applaud these programs for trying to help veterans. I absolutely do. And there is a time and a place for third-party trained service dogs. But when we're talking about PTSD or other psychiatric assistance dogs, I'm going to tell you, without the handler right there throughout the whole process, what are you teaching the dog? Teaching the dog to react after there's a problem. My dog intervenes before there's a problem. He picks up on my stress before I get to the point of getting ready to clock that guy who's in my face because whatever. Dog doesn't even let me get there because we trained together. For all intents and purposes, we grew up together. And he knows, wait a minute, you taught me not to let you do that. You're starting to do that. So I need to let you know, first of all, hey, you're going to that place. And then I need to start trying to get you away from going to that place. That's what the dog does for me. Why? Because I trained him to. Train. I feel like a broken record. But the number one problem, look, we have people out there going, well, I'm disabled. I need a service dog. I'm getting a dog. Great. What are you going to do with it? Huh? It's a service dog because I'm disabled. No. Not if it's not trained. You still have to train the dog to perform work or tasks to assist you with your disability. You have to train the dog to be able to behave and not be disruptive, to be housebroken and not pee in the aisles of the doggone grocery store, not bark at everybody it sees, not growl at children. You have to train your dog. Please, if you are legitimately disabled and you feel that a service dog is going to be what's going to help, please train your dog. Please. If you don't know how to train your dog, ask for help. Find help. Reach out to the PTS Dog page. We'll help you find the resources. Send us questions about training. I've got 6 trainers on staff. If we can't answer it, or if you need more help than we're able to give, we can help you find the resources. We can help you find the trainers. If you're a veteran, we can plug you in with the right programs. That's what we do. But we can't help you if you don't ask. And I'm telling you right now, if you're too proud to admit that you don't know what you're doing, you're hurting yourself and you're hurting the dog. I talked a little bit about this last week, and I'm going to talk about it again because it happened again. Different guy, different dog. We're at the VA, and this happened in Nevermore, and I wish she was here, but she's working. We're at the VA. I'm getting my eye exam, and they usually dilate me. So I asked Nevermore to come with me. One, because she has to drive me home because my eyes are dilated, and two, the exam room's tiny for the eye doctor, and Skeeter's huge. So it's just safer for both him. It's just safer for him not to have him in there. So I asked Nevermore to come and handle Skeeter for me. So this is third party. This did not happen to me. It happened to Nevermore and Skeeter. An elderly veteran walks in with another black lab type young dog that was obviously scared. Now, remember the dog I was talking to you guys about in the Walmart last week? Same thing. Different dog, different people, same thing. The dog was obviously terrified. Saw Nevermore and Skeeter and purposely made a beeline, full 6-foot leash to let this puppy run up on Skeeter. Excuse me? What? What the fuck? Why would you do that to your dog? First of all, it's obviously scared to even be there. The dog was trembling and whimpering the whole time it was in there. Second, you're just going to run it right up to a strange dog with no warning, without asking, hey, can my dog meet your dog? How could you be so stupid, sir? I really wish that I had been able to go over and approach him and talk to him and ask him the fuck he thought he was doing. Because what he was doing was creating a dangerous situation, not only for his dog and himself, but for my dog and my secondary handler, who, thank God, has a great relationship with Skeeter, has a good head on her shoulders, maintained control of Skeeter completely, and said, hey, get your dog away from my dog. Dog shouldn't even be in here. He's terrified. VA police officer saw this, came over to her, and she's like, I'm sorry, I'll get him out right now. Because Skeeter, the dog jumped right in his face. He said, whoa, whoa, get away. He was provoked. Dog comes running right at another dog. That's provocation, and it is allowed for in the ADA. The ADA talks about dogs being provoked. This was provocation. The officer said, I saw what happened. You're not at fault here. Unfortunately, the officer also told her, my hands are tied. We've had too many complaints about us asking unruly dogs to be removed, so now we can't remove them at all. I've talked before about the pendulum swinging. Too many vets bringing untrained dogs into the VA and claiming they're service dogs and creating a stink. VA throws down terribly restrictive rules, and then overzealously enforces it. Now the pendulum's swinging back the other way. You know, this is easily solved if the VA would pull their heads out of their collective asses and let people like me and other advocates out there start teaching veterans about their rights and their responsibilities when it comes to handling service dogs. The problem here is obviously that the man did not have the appropriate amount of education. He started blustering when Nevermore said, get your dog away from here. Well, it's a trained service dog. I've got papers, I've got certifications to prove it. What's the number one indication that it's not a trained service dog? I got papers. Tells me this man was uneducated. Tells me the man did not understand a damn thing about the ADA, didn't understand a damn thing about service dogs. Twice in 2 weeks, I'm seeing one was definitely a veteran, one was probably a veteran, dragging a terrified animal into some place that the animal, and they were both young dogs. Remember what we were talking about puppies? Setting your dog up to fail, you're setting yourself up to fail when you insist on dragging a dog that does not have the maturity or the training into the kind of places where it's incredibly stressful. This is not healing. The whole point of having a service dog, specifically and especially for PTSD, is healing. You ain't healing jack when you're setting yourself and your dog up to fail. You're creating more issues for yourself, and it's going to come around and bite you in the ass. And the help is here, and it's free. All you got to do is reach out and ask the questions, folks. That's it. Ask the questions. God, I wish I had 100 copies of my book. That I just carried around in my truck so that I could hand the book out to people like this. Hey, sir, I'd like to share this with you. I wrote it to try and help disabled veterans who choose to use a PTSD service dog to assist with their disabilities. I think you could benefit from this book. Wish I could afford to do that. It really needs to happen. Education is, look, 99% of the problems we have with access directly stem from lack of understanding of the Americans with Disabilities Act, stem from a lack of understanding about the law. 99% of the problems we have are simply because people don't have the education. How do we fix that? I feel like those of us that are running these service dog pages are raising their hands up and screaming out in the dark. I really do. I feel like we're just voices calling in the wilderness. We get a great, you know what? And I'm not complaining about not having enough followers. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying no matter how many of us are out here screaming and yelling, nobody's listening. Nobody cares until it's in their face, and then they don't know, and then they create an incident. Something's got to give. It really does. But you know, us handlers are out here working with our service dogs, refusing to give. That's why we have a service dog, because that dog has saved our lives. So what's going to give? Where's the education going to come? There are those of us who have taken it upon ourselves because no one else is doing it to start trying. But a lot of times it feels like we're just talking to walls. Get ready to wrap up with my last walnut. Chris, I'm not a dog trainer. I'm a disabled handler who trained my dog. I do have trainers on staff, but the PTS dog is not a dog training program. I'm an author. I wrote the book, Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder and the Service Dog. It's available on Amazon.com, BookLocker.com, and BarnesandNoble.com, and I'm sure other places. Let's talk about our last story. I started out today talking about how trying it is, public access, and people just, and the fact that it takes 2 hours to make a 30-minute shopping trip because people just can't help themselves when they see a dog. So we're finally checking out at Helmart, and an associate comes over, and this is the 30th time, the 40th time, comes over to ask whether or not Skeeter was a boy or a girl, because she and a small crowd of other associates had been standing over there gawking. And instead of respecting my personal space, and respecting the fact that the dog's there because I'm disabled, Not because I want to bring Fifi the Wonder Poodle into the store. She comes over and asks if it's a boy or a girl. If you use your eyeballs, it's pretty obvious, even when he's sitting, that he's got a little, well, he doesn't have any tackle, but he's got the bat. And I brusquely said he's a service dog and he's working. And I got I never. I was a little bit salty. That's all I said. I didn't snap her head off because I happen to be with Nevermore, who is an associate and intimately familiar with the ADA. And I just looked at Nevermore as we were leaving and said, you might want to have a talk with Miss So-and-so because, she may think I was rude, but you know what? At that point, I'd had enough. And we all reach our limits where we have enough. That's usually when I call it and say, we're done. We're leaving. And that's, you know what? No matter how many years I've worked with Skeeter, we've been out in public, actually doing public access, including his training time for 7 years now. No matter how long I've worked with him, I still have PTSD at the end of the day, and I still get exhausted, and I'm still done when I'm done. And I was done, and I snapped at her. I thankfully didn't go full retard on her, but for lack of a better term, but the temptation was there to just lose it. The temptation was there to just go full hoo on her. I really wanted to, because at that point I was at the end of my rope. Luckily, like I said, I had Nevermore there, who happened to be working and who happens to, be pretty familiar with the ADA. She might need to be. She lives with me. And I just asked her to please have a word with this woman because at that point, look, I understand my dog's beautiful. Thank you. I get it. But how many times do at what point are you fed up? At what point do you have to say enough is enough? And what is it costing disabled handlers who get to that point because people won't let up on us? At what point do we just call it and say enough's enough? And if you're out doing important tasks, if you're out getting groceries and stuff, things that you need to do, how many times is it okay to have to go back because people just won't leave you alone? I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm tired. Does that mean I'm not going to take my dog anymore? Hell no, I can't go without him. But it does mean, look, something's got to change. I got so fed up with it, I wrote a damn book about it to try and educate people because people don't understand. There's still veterans and veterans groups where I've been posting for years now. For 2 years, 3 years now. 3 years now, I've been posting in these groups talking about PTSD service dogs who still think that a trained PTSD service dog that performs tasks to assist its handler with their disability is an ESA. What do we do to get through? We can't walk all up to each and every one of them and whack them over the head with a frying pan. That's a problem I'm still trying to figure out how to solve. If you have suggestions, please let me know. One of the things you can do to help get the message out is share. Like and share the page. Spread it around. See a post you really like. Everything that I publish on PTS Dog that comes from me, either as PTS Dog or as Joaquin Watai, and everything I publish in the PTS Dog group that comes from me is shareable. Send it everywhere. Share it. Get the information out there. I started this project on public or on social media for the exact reason that it is social media. Get it out there. Share it to other platforms. I don't care. I published it for the public to read. Get it out there. Please share. Please spread it. You have my explicit permission to share anything I post on the PTS Dog page or in the PTS Dog group. Any and all of it. That's why it's there. Even if it's just a picture of Skeeter sitting in the meat aisle at the grocery store, behaving himself and not looking at the chicken right over there. Okay? It still shares a message. It still makes somebody go, what's that on the court? PTS Dog. What's that? Okay? Grassroots, the only way we're going to get this out here. Oh, hey, this is a good point Karen made. It doesn't help that there's therapists at the VA telling people they can take their emotional support animals everywhere with them. No, it doesn't. And the VA has created a very big problem in the veteran community because they refuse to acknowledge the efficacy of a trained service dog to assist with PTSD, one, and two, because they don't take the time to understand the law, and they are then telling their patients inaccurate information. It's a problem. It's a big problem. 2 or 3 times a week, Bart Sherwood from TADSAW calls me and says, "You won't believe what the VA did this time." And 2 or 3 times a week, it's a veteran who contacts him because the VA told him, "Oh, Bart Sherwood will write you an ESA letter." No, he won't. He will help them train a service dog. The misinformation, the corporate misinformation from the Department of Veterans Affairs in the United States is hugely a problem for veterans. And the fact that the VA is resisting any and all attempts to educate them corporately is a problem. I have some friends who are handlers, and I live close enough that I could make a trip to Washington, D.C. and go pound down Secretary, Wilkie's door and say, "Sir, we need to talk," with probably 5 or 6 vets and their service dogs in tow. I could do that. Problem is, it'd probably get me arrested. We've got to take on the problem, but how to take it on is an issue. There is an attempt to take it on with the PAWS Act. I think I hope you've read my assessment of the PAWS Act. I don't like it. I do offer, in my opinion piece about the PAWS Act, a resolution that might make it more effective. The number one thing being, if indeed the VA's primary objective is to reduce the number of veteran suicides, then they need to be looking at any and all programs or treatment modalities that are effective and stop resisting them, whether they believe in it or not. And I'm not saying, oh, everybody go out and smoke weed. I'm saying, look, the VA they throw money at veterans to go do equine therapy programs for which there's no empirical evidence, which is their excuse for not using service dogs. Yet they absolutely resist the possibility that a service dog can help. Does that make any sense? They'll send you for freaking acupuncture, but they won't say, maybe you should try looking at a service dog. They'll send you to art therapy to go paint pictures or throw pots, which is great. I'm not saying it's not helpful, okay? But that is a non-standard therapy with little or no empirical evidence that it's effective, but they absolutely dig their heels in and refuse to understand service dogs. There's a problem here. There's a disconnect here. There are thousands, there are thousands at least, maybe tens of thousands of disabled veterans who have trained PTSD service dogs who can tell you The only reason, and I'm one of them, the only reason I'm alive to talk to you right now is that big lunk lying on the floor. Is my service dog. He's the only reason I'm still here. Because he gave me a new reason to live. Bobby Joe, like I was saying, the pendulum, the VA's big on pendulums. There's no middle ground. You know, way too restrictive, way too permissive, way too restrictive. Now they've gone back to way too permissive. Education would solve the problem if they'd accept it. You know what? I've offered to not one, but two different whole health programs at two different VA regions to go and do presentations about PTSD service dogs free of charge. Free of charge. No response. How do we fix this problem? It's become evident that the Department of Veterans Affairs no longer exists to assist veterans, but to perpetuate its own bureaucracy. What do we do? What do we do? I guess we keep screaming out here in the wilderness. I guess we keep teaching each other and taking care of each other because it's the only thing we can do. The bureaucracy doesn't give a crap about us. It really doesn't. So we take care of one another. That's all we can do. That's all I've got this evening, folks. It's been a rough couple of days. It's been a rough couple of weeks. Still dealing with the aftermath of losing Nevermore's father. I appreciate all the support and patience. Things are slowly getting back to a new normal. We now have a teenager in the home, which is great. But, you know, it's things are changing. So be patient. I'll try to be more productive. Scav, arms beautiful. 100% mobility back. I'm starting to retrain, reduce strength, and I'm back on the lathe, and I have some really wicked ass new scars. So arms doing really well, bro. Thank you. Look, if you want more of these live Q&As, let me know. Send questions in. Send topics you'd like me to address. Try to keep them on Fridays. I know that the Service Dog Free Press does theirs on Thursdays, so we're looking either at Wednesdays or Fridays. So I'll do my best to stay not to interfere with their times. I will do random lives when something specific pops up. Also, don't forget about the Service Dog Show that airs every other Sunday on dvradio.net. That airs at 8 p.m. every other Sunday. Last week's show, I talked a lot about Carrie, I'll get to that. Last week's show, I talked a lot about the reason why we have service dogs. What's the goal? What's the point? It was just me, but it was something that I've been working on in my mind for a while, and I thought it was a pretty effective message. How can you buy the book? The book is available at booklocker.com. That is my publisher. Amazon.com and barnesandnoble.com. I'm sure it's available at other places, but those are the main ones. I do not know because it's print on demand. If it's available in Australia, mate, apologize. I don't know that. That's who is that? However, Christopher Kringle. However, Chris, if you'd like a copy, message the page. Let me know, and we'll figure something out. You can send me the money through PayPal, and I'll order it and have it sent to you from Amazon or something. We'll work it out. We'll get it figured out. Let's see. Oh, don't forget. Look, it's Red Friday. Remember, everyone deployed. PTS Dog has a storefront over on Teespring. Teespring.com. Look up PTS Dog gear. Got red gear, got a couple of saucy t-shirts, including the original Keep Calm. It's a dog, not a unicorn t-shirt. One that says, yes, you may pet my service dog, or no, you may not pet my service dog. One of each kind. One that has the answers to the questions. Yes, he's beautiful. Yes, it's a service dog. No, you may not pet him. I can't remember. There's 4 of them or something. So, again, how do we educate? We get the word out. We get the word out. How do we do that? What's that on your shirt mean? Oh, PTS Dog. You should check it out. It's a page all about service dogs. Simple as that. How do we get the word out? Share the book, share the page, share the videos. But we got to start doing something, especially within the veteran community, but also just in our communities at large. We need to get the word out, folks. We need to get more information out there. You can help me do it. Appreciate your time. Have a great evening. Time to go fire up the barbecue so that I can cook a chicken for dinner. Talk to you later.